College athletes are making millions of dollars in endorsements, but their coaches hate it. And I'm going to talk more about it right after the bumper. What's good, everybody? Jeff Lightsy Jr. here with the Black Boss Channel and Victory Formation. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, all that YouTube good stuff, because we upload every single day. Now, there is some reports coming out of the University of Alabama. You know, the juggernaut that is Alabama. You know, the juggernaut that is Alabama football. You know, the juggernaut that Nick Saban has built over there at Alabama that makes hundreds of millions of dollars, not just every 10 years, no, every single year for that university. Well, Nick Saban's got a lot to say about the presumed starting quarterback of Alabama, because his name is Bryce Young, a sophomore out of California, who is presumed to be the starter of Alabama. He hasn't been named yet, but he has raked in upwards of $1 million in endorsements, and the man hasn't even started a game for the Crimson Tide quite yet. I'm going to read you this article out of Yahoo Sports. It says Alabama quarterback Bryce Young appears to be capitalizing on the ability to make sponsorship and endorsement money. Crimson Tide coach Nick Saban said Young had approached, quote, ungodly numbers in his name, image, and likeness deals already. College athletes across the country were allowed to profit off name, image, and likeness, blah, blah, blah. Saban made his comments about Young's endorsement deals at Texas High School Coaches Association convention, and he spoke there ahead of his appearance in SEC Media Days. This is the quote from Nick Saban via 247 Sports. It says, our quarterback, Bryce Young, already has approached ungodly numbers. I'm not going to say what they are. He hasn't even played yet. He hasn't even been a starter. If I told you what it's almost seven figures. So we're talking about $1 million. And it's like the guy hasn't even played yet. That's because of our program. Obviously, Bryce was the number 2 quarterback last year on the championship team behind Mac Jones. Mac Jones went in the first round of the draft. A lot of people believe Bryce is even more talented than Mac Jones. He was a highly rated quarterback out of high school. He, like I said, was the second string to Mac Jones. He was, I think, probably rated, a top 5 player in the country when he came out. He enrolled at Alabama early. He's got a lot of accolades coming into this season, only his sophomore year at Alabama. So, what this says about Nick Saban and what this says about Alabama, well, one, they have a hell of a program. I mean, for a guy who's never started a game at Alabama, who hasn't even been labeled a starter yet. He hasn't been announced to be a starter quite yet. Bryce Young, I'm going to read you some more about Bryce Young. It says if Young had signed $900,000 worth of endorsements in 3 weeks, he still got a long way to match Nick Saban's salary. And so that's what we're going to talk about, because Nick Saban had a lot to say about the money that Bryce Young is making or it could potentially make during the future. Like I said, the NIL was only passed July 1st. So Bryce Young's racked up between somewhere in that $1 million range. He said 7 figures, so it's $1 million range in just 3 weeks. In just 3 weeks, he's been able to do that. 20 days, 21 days. He's been able to rack up $1 million. And that's before ever starting a game. So just imagine, because we know this is Alabama and we know what they do. They win a lot of football games. If he's able to get the starting job, which we all believe he will, and he's able to do what the other quarterbacks and everybody else who's been at Alabama since Nick Saban has been there, and that's win a bunch of games and win some championships and do a bunch of stuff, Bryce Young is going to cash in college. I mean, he is going to cash in if he does, follows the line, which he's supposed to, and does what he's supposed to do. And there's been, trust me, high praise of Bryce coming out of Alabama camps. He's going to make a ton of money in college way before he gets to the NFL. Now, the problem that I have with Nick Saban is the fact that he said that it's an ungodly amount of number, and he's only getting that because of this program. Well, Nick, you're right. It is a big number, and he is, as of now, getting it because of the potential that these sponsors and these endorsers or whoever see in what Bryce can bring to your program. But, Nick, you have to remember this, Nick. Nick Saban, someone who's earned over 90, not 900,000, $90 million in over the course of his career. And that's not including his endorsements, and that's not including his, speaking engagements. That's just the salary he's getting paid from Alabama. Well, Nick, it's players like Bryce Young that allows you to get paid, Nick. Think about this. You're saying Bryce gets this ungodly amount of number, fairly, not fairly, whatever. But if it wasn't for players like Bryce Young and Patrick Surtain and Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith and Mac Jones and Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa and the list goes on and on and on. Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, all these Julio Jones, all of these guys choosing to play for you, Nick, choosing to go to Alabama, you wouldn't be able to get that kind of salary. So now that Bryce is able to benefit from the foundation that the guys, the Julio Joneses of the world and, Josh Jacobs and all these Damian Harrises and all these guys have laid, and the potential was there, and we see it. We saw him in the spring game. We saw him in high school, and we think we know, at least as a sponsor, we think we know what we're going to get from Bryce Young, especially in that program. Then why shouldn't he be able to make that? Why is that a problem? And then they're going like, oh, it could be a problem in the locker room. Well, that's your job as a coach to fix it. Because it's the same thing NFL coaches have to deal with. Just because you haven't had to deal with it, because college football or college athletics in the whole has been able to get over with not playing their athletes or not allowing their athletes to go out and make money off their own damn name, image, and likeness, which is because you haven't had to deal with it for over your 30, 40-year coaching career. It's an adjustment now, Nick. And yeah, Bryce Young's getting a lot of money. He's gonna make a whole lot more money for himself when he goes out and wins you games, and you're gonna make a ton of money because of the way he plays on the field, him and the others. So no, it's not an ungodly amount, because $900,000, $1 million compared to your $90 million in just salary alone is pennies on the dollar. So you should be thanking Bryce Young, and you should be using that information, the fact that Bryce can go out and grab $1 million check before ever starting a game, as a recruiting pitch. Go to these kids' high schools, go to these kids' parents. I mean, you don't need recruiting tips from me, but I would believe that say, hey man, our starter who ain't even played a damn game, it might not even be the starter, got $1 million up front because he came and played here, and they know what we're going to do. I think that's a benefit, not a hindrance. I think you should be loving that, not hating on it, Nick Saban. Those are just my thoughts. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Leave your thoughts in the chat. Once again, I'm Jeff Lightsy Jr. with the Black Boss channel on Victory Formation. We post every single day. Follow me on Twitter. I have interesting conversations on there all the time. Thank you guys for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe before you bounce. I'll see you next time, though. Peace.